The handsome first day of work not only did not pull the passenger, but also empty car ready to close the work home to sleep. Suddenly, I don't know where to rush out a hot-body sexy beauty, scare the wolf and a foot to put the brake dead, cursing each other don't want to die. But to his surprise, the beauty was holding a dagger in her hand, staring at him aggressively. The next second, she even pulled open the car door and Saturday on the passenger seat at once. The wolf was so scared that he was incoherent, but he still didn't forget to angrily rebuke her impulsive. The beautiful woman wasn't used to him either. She directly put the knife on his neck and threatened him to drive the car to Zhonglutan. He can only remind the beauty to fasten her seatbelt. Time is short and the task is heavy. Lu Wolfen didn't dare to be slow, directly ignoring the traffic warning lights and rushed out. Suddenly, the beautiful woman once again attacked and asked for his mobile phone. But Lu Wolfen's mobile phone has long been outdated. Why don't you change your mind? Directly robbing sex. The beauty's face turned red with shame at this comment. She just wanted to borrow the phone. The beautiful woman who took the phone even directly called the police. It turned out that her name was Liu Mei, a student at Zijing Middle School, and her own best friend was kidnapped to the load. Lu Wolfen listened to a whole big speechless. The other side robbed themselves. Actually, to save people, the situation was urgent. Yu Mei was also concerned. She promised Lu Wolfen when she rescued her best friend, she would compensate for tonight's loss. But Lu Wolfen's heart has risen a lofty sense of social responsibility. Demand compensation first put aside, the hero to save the beauty of the thing. But it is rare, only to see his foot throttle. In the bright moonlight, witness completed a difficulty coefficient of freeze drift. To the side of the Liu Mei scared the color of her face. After the vehicle arrived at the destination, Yu Mei was made to vomit wildly by Lu Wolfen's car skills. She urged Lu Wolfen to leave and told him to come to the school the next day to find himself. But Lu Wolfen was a bit skeptical in his heart. Would it really work for such a weak girl to go and rob someone from a kidnapper? When he was hesitating, a blonde invited Lu Wolfen to come and eat seafood. But the meaning of the words was more than just a meal. Lu Wolfen decisively refused. But the blonde said that if he came over tomorrow, he would be able to flip over to Liu Mei. Lu Wolfen was disgusted with the other party's words and actions and didn't. The scene shifted. In a factory building, Yu Mei was anxiously calling out her best friend Zhang Weiwei's name. But soon, she saw Zhang Weiwei who was tied up. But before she could help, the sound of applause caught her attention, only to see the darkness came out. 6 or 7 fierce and powerful men, each with green eyes staring at her, as if looking at a lamb to be slaughtered. While talking, the crowd had already surrounded Willow Eyebrows, and the frivolous and dirty words were endless even in front of her face. Began to plan a good thing later. Suddenly there was a noise, pulling the bandits back to reality. The person who came was none other than the Wolfen. He had brought the dagger that Liu Mei had left in the car to support him. Seeing the Wolfen's appearance made Liu Mei very surprised, but she couldn't bear to see innocent people being implicated. She hurriedly asked him to leave this place of trouble. The robbers whose good deed was interrupted were all furious. They vowed to show Lu Wolfen some color. With that said, a yellow hair held a arm-thick political iron stick in his hand and swung it over. Unexpectedly, this vicious stick was directly empty. Lu Wolfen seemed to have disappeared into thin air. When he raised his eyes, he was looking at the dumbfounded Yellow Hairs with a teasing face. Yellow Hair, who had lost his face, instantly shouted in anger. The iron stick in his hand flew around wildly, vowing to get back his honor. But Lu Wolfen's acrobatic skills were beyond normal people. Maybe it was a long time ago. A few flips for Lu Wolfen made his stomach flip, and the whole plan was spinning around. As the leader of the robbers, Brother Pinto knew that Lu Wolfen had some skills, so he directly asked him where he came from. But Lu Wolfen still said, "I'm just a driver, or a good driver, who defies the odds and goes into the tiger's den to deliver lost property to passengers." Lu Wolfen also said, "Just like a good driver like me, isn't it worth a 5-star review?" Liu Mei on the side looked at it with a black line on her head. This person, jokes have no proper form, and they don't distinguish between times and occasions. When Brother Pinto saw Lu Wolfen's oily voice, he simply stopped necking. They say it's hard to beat for hands with 2 fists. They have so many people, they will get rid of each other in a minute. A bunch of ponies with all kinds of weapons in their hands. Their mouths were wailing randomly to increase their morale. At this moment, in Lu Wolfen's eyes, they were no different from barking wild dogs. before he did it. He joked and reminded Liu Mei that he must treat himself to a midnight snack after it was over. After saying that, with an iron head, he slammed into the horsemen who were coming towards him in a fishbowl. The head of the horseman is also unlucky. On the spot was knocked over on the ground, unconscious. Lo Wofen also no longer nagging. Directly a drum will be a crowd of horsemen all knocked over. At this time, look at the horsemen who were just rubbing their fists. Now they are all collapsed on the ground, moaning in pain. Liu Mei on the side looked at the eye straight. Is this person really just a driver? Just now, he was obviously a fearful and oily loser, but now he is actually so handsome. However, Liu Mei, who was looking at him mesmerized, was grabbed as a hostage by Pinto and threatened Lo Wofen with a gun to kill him immediately. Lo Wofen snorted coldly. His eyes showed an unseen killing intent. He was a different person from the one who was so smooth just now. At this moment, Pinto was directly angered by his contemptuous attitude. Angry, he directly pulled the trigger, only to see Lo Wofen's body slightly sideways, easily dodging the bullet. In the next second, he directly threw the dagger in his hands, only to hear the entire plant echoing with Pinto's pig-killing screams. This time, in the battle between cold weapons and hot weapons, the highs and lows were immediately visible. At this moment, Pinto struggled to get out from the pile of cardboard boxes. His already shabby face had a horrifying scar on it. Lo Wofen was afraid that Pinto couldn't accept his shabby looks, so he kicked the toilet plunger over to him, only to hear a boing sound. Pinto's face was fastened tightly by the toilet plunger, and the huge inertia sent him flying a few meters away. The tiger's mouth escaped. Liu Mei more and more see the head. I did not think that the toilet plunger can also be used in this way. This can really increase the knowledge. At this moment, Lo Wofen, in the eyes of Liu Mei, seems to be the knight who fights the dragon to save the princess. The prince who can even match the white horse. Simply outrageously handsome. However, Lo Wofen, who had been handsome for only 2 seconds, once again revealed his own smelly face. A bit heroic, but not much. Meanwhile, the police force arrived late and controlled all the robbers present. The leader was even a bit puzzled and couldn't tell who was the victim for a while. Zhang Weiwei's parents also arrived later, anxiously searching for their daughter in the factory building, only to see the stunned Zhang Weiwei staggering out with the help of Liu Mei. Seeing that her daughter was safe and sound, the family reunited again and directly hugged and cried. But Lo Wofen was in bad luck. He was actually controlled by the police as a suspect. He kept arguing that he was a rare 3-good citizen and a 5-star driver. Suddenly, the captain of the operation team appeared and called off the team's action. This man, who looked a little more fierce than Pinto, was the captain of the action team. He told his team members to leave Lo Wofen behind. He wanted to interrogate him personally. Who knows, a few team members actually started to sympathize with Lo Wofen, because their captain, in the police world, was known for his black hand and iron fist. No one could resist his interrogation. At this moment in the factory, it was so quiet that even the sound of an embroidery needle dropping on the floor could be heard. The atmosphere was even more oppressive to the top, who knew that the next second, the captain directly turned into a little fanboy. He called Lo Wofen as the boss, and fawningly handed over the cigarettes that he only smoked on New Year's holidays. Lo Wofen removed the handcuffs locked on his wrist with his bare hands, while praising the captain for his performance in leading the team this time. Naturally, the captain didn't forget to sing his, but Lo Wofen didn't seem to want to catch up with his former subordinates. He told the captain to stop calling himself chief. He was just an ordinary driver who heroically saved the day now. The scene shifted to Lo Wofen's room. On the table, there was a photo of him in military uniform, in an acceptance letter lying quietly on the table. Lo Wofen picked up the photo and muttered, I've got the acceptance letter from Zijing Middle School. What I promise you, I'll definitely do it. The next day, the new students of Class 7 of Zijing Middle School introduced themselves. Lo Wofen was concise and introduced himself. His high and cold personality and angular face directly charmed all the girls in the class. It also made Lo Wofen the public enemy of all male students in the class. To his surprise, Liu Mei and Zhang Weiwei, who had just been saved by himself the day before, were also in Class 7. The two of them were surprised to see it was Lo Wofen. A big tree will attract the wind. The 2 gangsters in the class have already begun to plan, ready to give Lo Wofen to a downward spiral, the protection fee, even if it's the name of the game. Only the way they tripped was too lowly. but if they knew about Luo Feng single-handedly taking down a nest of robbers, they definitely wouldn't dare to make a move so easily. With a crunch in the classroom, the boy's foot was crushed by Luo Feng in response. Just as he came to his seat, his tablomates threw admiring gazes, freshman reporting for duty. He actually dared to stand up to the king of the mongrels. Liao Qianquan, Luo Feng disdainfully asked. Is Liao Qianquan very powerful? The table told him that Liao Qianquan is not powerful, but he is backed by an organization called the Heavenly Alliance, often to the students to collect protection fees. Luo Feng listened to the eyes of the golden light, which came to the money road, is not coming. A quiet afternoon, Luo Feng is enjoying a rare time to read. Who knows, suddenly a big foot disturbed his pleasure and the dreams of the table. The person who came was no one else. It was Liao Qianquan, who was defeated during the day. This time it is to ask for 2,000 protection fee. A few spectators who love to watch the audience have not realized that the two rookies in front of them are a little ghost looking for the king of hell to ask for money. After hearing Liao Qianquan's offer, Tang Dar shot up. Before it was clearly 8,000. Today why sit on the ground price? Liao Qianquan put his arm around Tang Dar and threatened to step on my foot. Do not need to spend money to heal. You're talking too much. Have you not been beaten properly lately? Zhang Weiwei couldn't watch any longer, so she went up to fight for Tang Dar and Luo Feng. However, Liao Qianquan said that Zhang Weiwei's Zhang family had no right to interface in the affairs. Unexpectedly, Luo Feng actually completely did not put Liao Qianquan in the eyes, but also advised Liao Qianquan to learn from himself. Read more books. Only knowledge is power. See, Luo Feng is a family shrine inside the spread books. Set on the spectrum, Liao Qianquan became angry. To give him some color to see, while talking, the two men set up a stance and directly waved their fists towards Luo Feng. Good words are hard to persuade damn ghosts. Luo Feng closed the book and directly staged a wave of knowledge is power. This power to Liao Qianquan shot 7,000,008 veins. The melanators on one side couldn't help but be shocked. What is the origin of this new student? The first time he came here he beat up the people of the Heavenly Alliance. Luo Feng crossed his legs and looked like a head teacher. Watching Liao Qianquan didn't dare to breathe. Who knew that the next second, Luo Feng ordered Liao Qianquan to go and inform the others, and also made the Heavenly Alliance hand over all the protection money. In addition, he had to send the money to himself with respect and courtesy. The newcomer and the local snake openly called the shots. Not only did it surprise the crowd, even Tang Dier couldn't help but feel a tinge of admiration for Luo Feng. Yu Mei and Zhang Weiwei saw that they wanted to help out. Who knew that the plot had reversed itself? Just at this time, a dressed in uniform concave and convex imperial sister out of the words to stop. Now the class is in session. Hit the bell did not hear. Liao Qianquan, who escaped with a fluke, still murmured a variety of harsh words with his head down. At this time, the imperial sister on the podium made a self-introduction. Her name is Jun Renmong. She's the English teacher. Halfway through the lesson, Jun Renmong turned back and started interacting with the students to ask questions. As for Luo Feng, who wasn't interested in English, he had already played down scenes of rounds of chess with Lord Zhou. The classroom was filled with the sound of his snoring, and Jun Renmong noticed the sound asleep him. All the students sweated for him. After all, the last person who was this bold would have gone home crying long ago. Jun Renmong walked straight towards Luo Feng. Liao Qianquan was overjoyed in his heart. This time he didn't need to do it himself. He was going to be stripped of a layer of skin. No teacher could tolerate a student sleeping with his head in his class, regardless of whether one's speech is good or bad. Respect is the minimum. Jun Renmong copied her book and cracked Luo Feng, but didn't touch him a bit. Looking at Luo Feng again, he was still sleepy-eyed and swaying forward and back. The same table Tang Dier was once again show a face. A good sleep Luo had evasive power. Jun Renmong, who didn't believe in the evil, went straight for it, only to see that her hands had danced out of the shadows. But Luo Feng on the other side is still missing the whole game. Seeing that she couldn't take advantage of the upper three paths, Jun Renmong directly changed her mindset and attacked the lower three paths. She raised a sweeping jade leg and kicked at Luo Feng. I heard a muffled sound in the classroom. The cold chair did not understand the situation and took down Jun Renmong's move. This is really no injury to the enemy, but a loss of 800. Luo Feng opened his sleepy eyes and asked the other party with concern. At this moment, Jun Renmong was already full of shame and anger. She couldn't get off the stage at all. In order to resolve this awkward atmosphere, Jun Renmong used English to ask questions. So if Luo Feng, as calm, couldn't answer, she would have a good reason to clean him up. Unfortunately, Luo Feng wasn't a scum. He answered Jun Renmong's question directly with a fluent London accent. During the process, Luo Feng didn't forget to tease Jun Renmong about being a widow, Jun Rinmon could only be glad that most students didn't understand this word. The two of them used English like this and exchanged words with each other for half an hour until the fight ended with Jun Rinmon foaming at the mouth. Jun Rinmon was a bit unbelievable. She had been teaching for many years, but it was the first time she had seen Luo Feng's pronunciation so standard that she was ashamed of herself. Jun Rinmon could only helplessly find a way out for herself, as she couldn't even fight or talk her way out of it. Looking at the other students in the class, all of them have thrown praise and admiration to Luo Feng. Liao Qianhuan, who failed to succeed in his plan, can only be impotent and furious. Only Luo Feng knew that Jun Rinmon's debauches for the test were still inferior to himself. After all, he has been fighting abroad for many years. Liao Qianhuan wanted to provoke Jun Rinmon and the Luo Feng's work in, but his blind playing Mahayun could not see to listen. Directly by Jun Rinmon kicked out of the classroom to stand. Soon, the bell rang, but at this time in the school building, the imposing came a group of uninvited guests. Tang Dier, who had eyes to see and ears to hear, immediately detected the killing intent, so he hurriedly turned his head to persuade Luo Feng to leave the other side of the crowd. But the unlucky Tang Dier had just finished reporting in the front foot and fell into the hands of the other party in the back foot. The visitors were the people from the Heavenly Alliance. When Luo Feng saw it, he laughed unkindly. He had brainstormed a lot of looks for the Heavenly Alliance people, but he didn't expect it to be such a midget. But since he was here, he had to talk about it. Luo Feng asked the other party to let Tang Dier go first, but the small-minded Liao Qianhuan didn't let go, only because Tang Dar helped Luo Feng out and made himself lose face. Tang Dier immediately apologized. Rumpelstiltskin man, also no nonsense, directly let the minions swarmed up, moved the Heavenly Alliance people. No one can run away. However, the midget man Huang Boss, who was handsome for no more than 3 seconds, was directly strangled by Luo Feng's throat of fate. He didn't even know when Luo Feng came to his side. Luo Feng told Tang Dier, who just got out of danger, "Today is revenge for revenge. Because I, Luo Feng, will back you up. You can beat him up to your heart's content." Seeing Tang Dier cowering, Luo Feng continued to shout at the other party, "Do you want to be a dignified person or a coward to be bullied?" These words were like a key that opened Tang Dier's dusty history of humiliation. The past was fresh in his mind. The lunch that was kicked over, the living expenses that washed away. Tang Dier instantly stormed out. "Today this feast, do not fight out or sorry for the former self, more sorry for the casual acquaintance," in order to their own risk of Luo Feng, only to see Tang Dier's fists, like rain like locusts, smashed in the body of Boss Huang. Emotional Tang Dier seems to be crazy. The sight of the horsemen all look stupid. The beating is sound. Tang Dier can't get enough of crying out in pain at the same time. On the spot to worship Luo Feng as a big brother. From now on only to Luo Feng after the head of. However, Luo Feng, the good big brother. The next second to sell Tang Dier, he told the audience, "You all saw it. The man was hit by Tang Dier. It has nothing to do with me." Jokes aside, Luo Feng dragged up Boss Huang and started to demand protection money. All this money was the money of all the innocent victimless students. He must get it back for them. Seeing this, in order to save Huang's boss, the horsemen directly on the spot to come to a charity to save the boss of the fundraising activities. Money out of the money. No money out of the money. In the end, they barely managed to gather enough money. Luo Feng handed over the task of returning the protection fee to Tang Dier, and Boss Huang tremblingly asked if he could let himself go. Luo Feng dragged Boss Huang towards the window. He said he would release him, but he was worried that the other party would settle scores with his classmates. Boss Huang was scared to death by Luo Feng. As a result, not surprisingly, Luo Feng, who kept his promise, still threw Boss Huang downstairs. It was also a blow to the arrogance of the Heavenly Alliance's first party. Luo Feng coldly looked to the windowsill side and said, "Only if you die I can rest assured that my classmates will be truly safe too." At the same time, the matter of a lawsuit in the campus was spreading. Although the death was of an unscrupulous bully, it was after all a human life. Seeing this, Tang Dier hurriedly expressed to Luo Feng that he was also responsible for today's incident. Luo Feng was also very pleased to see that he was very righteous. Boss Huang didn't die that. Luo Feng naturally wouldn't get real on campus, so when he threw Boss Huang, he aimed directly at the bin at the back. It was kind of heavenly destiny. After the matter ended, Luo Feng also didn't forget to interview Tang Dier. I don't know if he's satisfied with his big brother. The powerful aura of killing made Tang Dier lose his words for a moment. After school, Luo Feng just arrived at the school gate. There were two men in black wearing sunglasses stopped him and said their boss wanted to see him. It turned out that the other party was Zheng Weiwei's father, Zhang Haitian. Luo Feng thought that the other party was here to repay the favor of saving his daughter. He was ready to be smashed Duncan. However, in the next second, Zhang Haitian spoke out of turn. He asked Luo Feng straight out if he had any purpose in approaching Zheng Weiwei. If you were an ordinary person, you would be disoriented if you were swept by Zhang Haitian's eyes. But Luo Feng calmly asked, Boss Zhang, are you doubting me? When my daughter was kidnapped, you happened to be the driver and you saved her. Today, you put down your steering wheel and picked up your backpack to be my daughter's classmate. Luo Feng listened and responded jokingly, I also feel that I am too much in love with your love. Maybe we have to be a family in this life. I don't mind being your son-in-law. Luo Feng's frivolous attitude annoyed Zhang Haitian. He asked Luo Feng with fire, do you think I am joking with you? Luo Feng saw the other party wandering on the verge of going berserk, so he responded lightly, obviously I didn't do it. You have to make me an idiot. Then wouldn't I be an idiot? Before Zhang Haitian could get angry, Luo Feng kicked first, only to see him kick Zhang Haitian out of the car. The bodyguards in front of him were stunned by this scene. Almost at the same time, a van truck crashed into Zhang Haitian's car, and the huge impact overturned everyone far away. At the critical moment, Luo Feng stood up to protect Zhang Haitian. Behind him was the rolling black smoke and monstrous flames. This kind of thing happened in the flash of lightning. Really let Zhang Haitian some fear. He fell for the first time. That distance between life and death can be measured by feet. The two bodyguards rushed over to check Zhang Haitian's condition. The slightest slip up and they will definitely be held accountable. Luo Feng saw that Zhang Haitian, who was still overbearing just now, was scared out of his wits at the moment. So he asked, now there is no one in the truck. Do you think it is a coincidence or did I? Things came to this point. Zhang Haitian's heart was already clear. Everything was his impromptu intention. Luo Feng didn't know about it, let alone prepare for it in advance. Luo Feng didn't listen to Zhang Haitian's apology. He just saved someone's life. He chose to leave in style again. Now things are clear. Someone kidnapped Zheng Weiwei just to take the opportunity to get rid of Zhang Haitian. So Zhang Haitian ordered to strengthen the security of his beloved daughter. Luo Feng, who had experienced a day of freshman life, came to the big stall, intending to co-treat himself. Compared to the foreign conquest, today's encounter was just a minor one, but looking at the menu full of kebab assassins, even if the heroic Luo Feng can only timidly order egg noodles, it's not good to be a student. There is no source of income for a while, and he didn't find a suitable room to rent. At this time, Luo Feng is also ahead of Tabig. However, where there are heroes, there is bound to be trouble. During the meal, a diner falsely claimed that there were cockroaches in the bowl, and then used it to cause trouble. The boss Lady Lan went forward with a smile on her face. She knew that the person coming was not good, so she thought of waiving the bill to settle the matter. In less than 2 words, they showed their true colors. They opened their mouths and demanded 20,000 yuan. In emotional damages from Lan, which is just like asking for a lot of money. The other party could see that it was not easy for Sister Lan, so they kindly proposed a compromise. As long as they were happy with them, the compensation would be discounted by 50%. Sister Lan, under the double attack of obscene language and salty hands, screamed helplessly and even threatened to call the police. The two gangsters saw that Sister Lan was soft but tough, so they stood up with a bang and kicked over the tables, chairs and benches. No one will be good today. I want the people and the money. You don't have to open your Kazan eyes. Take a good look at who the master is. We are the Black Fox Gang. Eating you to take you is to give you face. When the diners saw that the other party was from the Black Fox Gang, they looked like they had seen a man-eating tiger, and immediately scattered, not even settling the bill. The man saw this as so. The flame more arrogant. He threatened Sister Lan, either obediently pay the money, or go back with the two brothers' trip. Luo Feng on the side couldn't stand it anymore. Being a hero, even having a bite of a meal is a luxury. The other party saw that Luo Feng dared to stand up for Sister Lan, so they were ready to teach. Two big men with big waists have the nerve to bully a weak girl in the street. They really don't know how to pity her. The man who is still not clear about the death of the man, and Luo Feng, who dares to go against the Black Fox Gang, has not yet been born. Before the man finished his harsh words, Luo Feng had already taken a healthy step and flew forward. A heavy punch knocked out the man's New Year's Eve dinner of the year before last. Luo Feng stepped on the man's head and said his eyesight was not good, so he asked the man to see if there were any cockroaches in the vomit that it had just mentioned. The companion saw the men being bullied, so it directly copied the stool and smashed at Luo Fan. It's also handsome, but not 3 seconds, only to see the companion stepped on Luo Fan's bottle of wine. The next second, the whole face was stuffed into the man's vomit. The contact surface, more solid than the man. Luo Fan just stepped on the duo's heads 1 foot at a time, telling them that they weren't allowed to go home until they found the cockroaches. This scene just now stunned everyone. They never imagined that the Black Fox gang, that defied everything, would have a day where they were cleaned up. As for Luo Fan, he looked at their backs as they fled in a sorry state, but he was in an indifferent posture in terms of force output. He hadn't lost yet. Sister Lan, who had escaped, knew that it was this little brother who had saved her life, and hurriedly rushed forward to say thank you. But after thinking about it, it seems like there is no better way to repay her other than getting a free bill. However, Luo Fan didn't take the money and didn't promise. If he did that, what's the difference between him and those protection fee collectors? In Sister Lan's grateful eyes, Luo Fan also started looking for a place to stay for the night. He didn't want to sleep on the streets. When he was checking the small adverts for rent on the roadside, Sister Lan reappeared and brought him a message. The information on this small advert was none other than his own house. Luo Fan only felt that the word fate was wonderful after hearing it. I followed Sister Lan all the way to the rental house, only to learn that the previous tenant's luggage hadn't been moved out yet. But all this is just a minor point. As long as there is a place to sleep, nothing else is a problem. After exchanging contact information with each other, Luo Fan was considered to be exactly moving in, with a place to sleep peacefully. After a long day of tossing and turning, Luo Fan was already exhausted. Leaning against the sofa, he already felt drowsy, but the disgusting smell wafting out from his body was really disgusting. Luo Fan got up his spirit and prepared to clean himself properly. At this time, under the flat, June Renmon was dressed in full costume and was walking down from the car. She kept saying that she would never attend this kind of boring banquet again. Just after entering her home, June Renmon couldn't wait to take off her dress. The unpleasant smell of cigarettes on it made her unable to wait a second longer. Just when she wanted to go to the bathroom and take a good shower, Luo Fan inside also happened to have just finished washing and was about to go back to his room to rest. As they looked at each other, Luo Fan hadn't realized what was going on in front of him. June Renmon's face was instantly red with shame. Of course, she recognized that the person in front of her was her student. Luo Fan also saw the person in front of him. It was his English teacher. At good evening, June Renmon was instantly embarrassed to the point where her toes buckled. How could her own student take a bath here? In order to clear his name, Luo Fan called Sister Lan. It turned out that it was Sister Lan's husband, who didn't make it clear how many people had canceled the rent, and that's why there was a mess. Hanging up the phone, both of them fell into an infinite silence. Seeing this, Luo Fan had to take the lead and show that he would keep it a secret. He didn't see anything just now. Big deal, I'll move out tonight. June Renmon grimaced. Just wanted to say you wait for me, but before she could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by Luo Fan. He had a roguish look on his face and hugged June Renmon's thigh tightly. I knew Teacher June wasn't so cruel. Let me wait a bit. Not so much that I'll be out on the street sleeping on the street. After all the good words were said by Luo Fan, June Renmon was also a whole lot more convinced, had to take the opportunity to put forward a condition for him to agree to. And the condition in her mouth was actually to participate in the English-speaking competition in a month's time, and she had to win the prize money. Although participating in the competition wasn't a problem, what Luo Fan wanted in his heart was to help June Renmon pound her legs and rub her shoulders. After all, being a teacher is very tiring. June Renmon followed up by talking about how, just in case, the news of the two living under the same roof couldn't be known to others, especially their teacher-student relationship. Since the words were all said and done, Luo Fan, with the idea of not taking advantage of a bastard, directly described June Renmon as his cousin. Hearing this relationship, Sister Lan's heart was put back in her stomach. After all, such a big oops appeared in her own rented room. She could only make amends with a meal. Luo Fan was also unceremonious and agreed right away, completely ignoring June Ren's dream of refusing. After sending Sister Lan away, Luo Fan also put away his thoughts of acting. With a short sentence of good night, he went back to his room and rested by himself. At the same time, in the high-class villa on the other side of the city, there was a burst of crying coming from it. The person who was crying with snot running down his nose was none other than Huan Tinya, who was thrown into the rubbish bin at school. He put all the fault on Luo Fan's head in a couple of sentences. Such a strange shame immediately made Huan Tinya's elder brother, Huan Dao, feel a surge of chi and blood. Dare to defy my Huan family. Really ate the bear's heart and leopard's gall. And at this time on campus, there was no sign of the calm exterior, but the wind had already risen. Zhang Weiwei was discussing something with Yu Mei in a low voice. Only being in the way of her face caused a shy blush to appear on hers. Seemingly sensing something, Yu Mei broke down her little mind with a single word. You're not in love with that Luo Fan, are you? Otherwise, why are you so vain? In order to prove her innocence, Zhang Weiwei finally plucked up her courage and found Luo Fan, who was reading a book. She opened the door and invited him to her birthday party next week. Before he could finish his sentence, Luo Fan agreed to do so. For a beautiful woman's gracious invitation, how could he possibly refuse? Not to mention that there was a heroic rescue of a beauty before. It was also considered making a friend. Luo Fan's quickness made Zhang Weiwei a bit surprised. She even talked about her father, wanting to thank him in person for what happened earlier. The intimate pleasantries between the two had long made the rest of the class feel dissatisfied. The school flower could actually look at a turtle like Luo Fan. There were even the juniors who took this opportunity to provoke him to go to the office to find Director Huang. Even Tang Dar was involved. Luo Fan would like to see what kind of medicine he is selling in his gourd. He took 3 steps and knocked on the office door. Inside, Director Huang was already at ease. Through the lenses of his glasses, you could see his eyes looking up and down. However, Luo Fan didn't put him in his eyes, but instead looked at Tang Dier in a corner. If you didn't know, you'd think you were practicing monkey tricks. Director Huang, who was ignored, was very angry. He banged the desktop hard and asked Luo Fan to answer his question. Luo Fan also seemed to come back to his senses and playfully looked at Director Huang. He even thoughtfully asked him, "Have you eaten in the morning?" Director Huang didn't have the heart to bullshit. He directly pulled out the punishment documents. He also told the 2 of them to each write a 5,000-word review and then apologize to Huang Tianye. Luo Fan could tell at a glance that Director Huang and Huang Tianye had an unusual relationship. Could they be relatives? It seemed like the secret had been poked through. Director Huang instantly flipped his face. Not only did he describe a simple fight as a murder, he also brought out Zhang Weiwei's father Zhen Haitian. It was Luo Fan's turn to be baffled. How come he didn't know that Zhen Haitian became his uncle? If that's the case, then why am I afraid of you as a director? He no longer paid attention to the angry Director Huang, turned around and called away Tang Dier. The 2 of them left the office with a big strut.